Language Learning Series. How to Learn Anything Faster.
So you want to learn something new and you want to learn it faster, right? Whether it's a language, an instrument, or some big new skill for your career, there's a better way to do it. In this explainer, we're going to unpack a simple framework that can completely change the way you learn. Let's get right into it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a song on the radio? Just a few notes, and boom, you're instantly transported back to high school. Or you catch a certain smell, and you're right back in your grandma's kitchen. How is that memory so strong, so vivid, after all that time? Well, here's the secret. It all comes down to a simple formula. Information plus emotion equals a long-term memory. The reason those memories are just locked in there is because they were tied to a powerful feeling. See, this is the key we miss all the time. Learning isn't just a logic puzzle for your head, it's a game for your heart too. Okay, so how do we actually use that emotional connection to learn better? Well, we can use a really simple framework. It's an acronym called Be Fast, and it's designed to unlock your brain's incredible potential for learning things, well, fast. So here it is. This is our roadmap. Each of these letters stands for a core principle of accelerated learning. We're going to go through them one by one, and we'll start with the most important part, the foundation, which is all about your mindset. Right, let's start with your mindset. The first three letters here, B, E, F, are all about getting your mind ready to learn. Because trust me, if you don't get this part right, none of the other techniques are going to stick. First up, B is for believe. And right away, we have to bust a huge myth. How many times have you said, oh, I just have a bad memory? We talk about it like it's some permanent thing we're stuck with. But here's the truth. Memory isn't something you have, it's something you do. There's no such thing as a good or bad memory, really. There's just a trained memory and an untrained memory. And this is just so crucial. Your brain is basically a supercomputer, and the program it runs is your self-talk. So if you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good at remembering names, you literally just commanded your brain not to remember the name of the next person you meet. Your mind is always listening to you. So step one is you have to believe you can. All right, let's move on to E, which is for exercise. Now, this one seems almost too simple, but it is profound. We tend to think of learning as this quiet, sitting still activity. But did you know one of your brain's main jobs is to control your body's movement? When you move your body, even just a brisk walk, you send a flood of oxygen and good stuff to your brain, creating the perfect environment for new ideas to stick. Just remember, as your body moves, your brain grooves. Next is F for forget. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So often we come to a new subject thinking we already know a lot about it. Our cup is already full. But you can't pour anything new into a cup that's already full to the brim. What this really means is to learn something new and fast, you have to temporarily suspend what you think you know, just for a little while. Set aside your assumptions. When you adopt what's called a beginner's mind, you create the mental space to actually see things in a new way and absorb the information. Okay, so we've got our mindset right. We believe, we're going to move, and we're going to forget what we thought we knew. Now it's time for action. The next three letters, A, S, and T, are all about the practical things you can do to really speed things up. The A stands for active. For far too long, our school systems have taught us that learning is a passive thing, right? You just sit there and consume information like you're watching a movie. But that's not how our brains work. Our brains don't learn by just consuming, they learn by creating. You have to get involved, ask questions, take notes, connect ideas. You have to turn learning from a passive thing into an active thing. Next up, S for state. And this circles all the way back to what we said at the very beginning about emotion. The emotional and physical state that you're in when you're trying to learn is, well, it's everything, because all learning is state dependent. Come on, we've all been there. You read an entire page of a book, you get to the bottom, and you realize you have absolutely no idea what you just read, right? Why does that happen? Because you were in a bored state, a passive state. The information had nothing to latch onto. So before you start to learn, you have to consciously manage your state. Get curious, get fascinated. That's how you make memory stick. And that brings us to the final letter. T is for teach. And I'm telling you, this might be the single most powerful learning hack in the entire list. It's simple. Learn everything with the intention of teaching it to somebody else. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. Imagine you knew that later today you had to explain this whole be fast method to a friend. Would you be listening to this explainer any differently right now? Of course you would. Your focus would be sharper. You'd probably take better notes. You'd be thinking, okay, what are the key points here? How do these ideas connect? Because you know you're going to have to explain it clearly to someone else.
It all boils down to this really simple, powerful idea. When you teach something, you actually get to learn it twice. Once when it's coming in, and then again, even more deeply, when you have to organize it and explain it on the way out. So there you have it. That's the Be Fast method. Believe, exercise, forget, active, state, and teach. But remember, this is just a set of tools. The real magic, the real power to change, that comes from somewhere else. Which brings me to one final thought. Think about this powerful analogy. If an egg is broken by a force from the outside, life is over. But if it's broken by a force from the inside, that's when life begins. Real growth, real transformation, all the great things in life, they start on the inside. This whole method is just a way to help you find that force inside yourself.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Who do you want to be in a year or 5 years from now? What's the one thing that your future self is absolutely begging you to start learning today? Thanks for joining the Explainer.